Hi folks, it's John from lastchanceautorestore.com. I'd like to share with you another update. This is the 1933 Ford Model A pickup truck. Previously, and it was quite a while ago, we kind of shared with you a teaser on an upcoming project. So this truck was originally came from this area in the Ontario, Kingston, Ontario region, and it ended up changing hands quite a few times. And long story short, we have the client who purchased this vehicle. He ended up finding out that it was his grandfather's truck originally. So it's back in the family, and they have some photos of it when it was new back in 1933. So basically what we've done is we're going to do our mechanical inspection and our visual inspection, and we're going to start making a list of items that we're going to require. So this project truck changed hands a few times, and the last person who had it, where our client purchased it from, essentially just used a few bolts, nuts and bolts here and there to kind of put it back together to look like it's a complete truck. So the black, and you're not going to be able to see it in the photo, but the fenders require quite a bit of body work. They're all wavy and dented, and it's just painted satin black or satin primer to hide the imperfections. I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up, but the paint job is terrible. You can see all of the paint that's hanging and running off of the grill. Nothing was really sanded properly. The bodywork is really wavy, but typically in picture, especially when they're further away, it looked decent. And then you have like your front apron here where you have a bunch of splitting and cracking, and most people would just leave that. So we have the split here or crack in the front apron, also in the corner. So these are common stress marks, but you can see there's like grease and undercoating and stuff, and they just sprayed flat black over top of it to try to hide it. So when you look at it closer, it gets quite nasty. And then I think the camera can probably pick it up. It's thick and runny, and there's chunks in the lower grill. So just really poor preparation. The green part of the truck, if we kind of set back a little bit, you can see we have our extension cord going through. We have it on our battery charger, and we want to make sure that we charge the battery up fully. But I think the camera can probably pick it up. Your hood has got a whole bunch of sand marks in it. It's a totally different color than the cowl. The cowl is a totally different color than the door, and it's really wavy, so it needs a lot of love in terms of body, but structurally it's a great project vehicle. And then we can see where we have in terms of the steering, we're checking steering, suspension, and braking, and you can see we have they look like fairly new liners here, or brake shoe linings, and then the hardware has been cleaned up but just not detailed. There's excessive play in the wheel bearings. You can see we have the hub here. Really neat design for the drum and hub style. So we'll be taking measurements, and then we'll make sure that we properly clean all these items. We have to replace the bearings, and we're just basically making a list of all the items we need to do. But the nice thing, when we look underneath, and I think the camera can pick it up, the fender here, you can see where they just have a couple of bolts just loosely trying to hold it on. But when you look at the top of the fender and then come down the fender towards the running board, you can see the road debris and the chipping from stones coming off the tire. We like to see this because we know it's an original fender, not an aftermarket fender, and it hasn't had that hard of a life because you have some of the original paint underneath here and then a lot of surface rust just from wear. So the running boards and the rear fenders and so on, they're obviously going to need quite a bit of work. And if we kind of come around the hoist here, I apologize for the messy section. You can recall in the earlier video, the bed is just set on. You can see all of the surface rust. So nothing was really treated or done right, but they set that back on, and I think you can probably pick it up in there's a lot of dents and creases and bends in the rear fenders and in the running boards, and they just basically sprayed it with a satin black to try and hide all of the flaws and imperfections. We'll be removing this rear hub drum assembly, and if the camera person can try and follow along with all the shrapnel on the floor and the wheels. So in the back you can see they just have basic plywood floor they kind of screwed together. You can see they've thrown a piece of trim just to try to shim things up. We see lots of surface rust at untreated areas, but underneath you can see the exhaust system isn't done the way we would like it to be done. So we'll correct that. We'll be removing the exhaust later, doing it properly, but we have our original rear diff and our leaf spring that goes across, similar to the newer Corvettes, which is kind of a neat thing. And as we come over to this side, so now we're at the driver's side rear, you can see once again things are just kind of held together, but is going to require quite a bit of work. And then you can see on the very top, you can barely make it out, but it says Loyalist Lodge, and that was hand painted on, and there's some other wording down here. But that Loyalist Lodge is the original lodge that this truck belonged to, and the family obviously is connected with that group of family. And you can see on this side, this rear fender, once again, I would call this excessive damage, but once again hidden with the flat black paint. But you can see the crease is all it's in and out and wavy, and quite a bit of damage to that. But we'll be dealing with that later. And then you can see our stake pockets. They're going to need a little bit of work, and then there's just makeshift hardware and screws screwed in through the holes here into a piece of plywood to try and make it look like it's square. From the distance, the body looks nice and shiny, but we've got some body filler down in here. The door doesn't fit right. It's very, very wavy, and there's already rust trying to pop through this paint. So we'll be doing quite a bit of work to this, but I just wanted to kind of share with you because it was very basic, our first introduction. And now that we have it up on the hoist, we'll do a full inspection. We'll make a list of parts that we're going to require mechanically. It's going to take a little while for the parts to come in. So while we have, once we're completed with the inspection, then we'll start the disassembly of the body. And then as this continues, we'll try to share with you updates at different stages. Because it's a neat truck. It's very, very rare. It's a 1933 Ford pickup truck. And so we'll share with you some updates as we continue. So I thank you for watching. I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.